Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the College of Design, Construction, and Planning to this Construction Hall of Fame ceremony. I'm Chime Anumba, I'm Dean of the College, and it's always a pleasure to be able to have this ceremony and to welcome everyone. This is one of my favorite events through the academic year, and that is particularly so because we get a chance to honor some of the people that are dearest to us. Today we have the honor to welcome and honor a distinguished alum and also a distinguished faculty member. So without wasting much more time, I'd like to invite Dr. Robert Cox to say a few words on behalf of the School of Construction Management.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Robert Cox, the director of the Rinker School of Construction Management, and I can't think of a more memorable or better event to actually serve as your host and starting this off. You know, we've celebrated over 85 years of being a school and offering construction management education. And the Hall of Fame, if you'll notice, is in a really highly visible special place, right? These walls, because as students, faculty, staff, and visitors come in, they get to see this hall, the Hall of Fame wall, as a motivator. Before we actually honor the two newest inductees, one from academia and one from industry, I need to also recognize some former Construction Hall of Fame inductees. So, Trustee Dave Brandon, he was inducted in 2016. And Steve Palmer, who is going to be coming up right behind me, he was inducted in 2009. So some other attendees that we want to recognize is the Rinker Faculty. We have Dr. Raymond Issa, Director Srinivasan, Dr. Wheely, Dr. Minchin. We also have Professor Adam Smith. And we have two former faculty emeritus. We have Gary Cook and Brother Leon Weatherington. Hey, Leon, there we go. So we should also recognize Seth Watts. Where's Seth? Director of Advancement. Thank you, Seth, for being here. All right. So everybody knows, I'm telling people that already know about Rinker, so just bear with me. You know, we are known for excellence in so many different categories, whether it's undergraduate education, graduate education. We're one of the most highly sought after schools of construction management in the country, if not the world. One of the things that we really tout is our industry engagement, and we feel so very fortunate to be engaged with our industry partners. And the Hall of Fame is just one way that we have a ability to actually recognize that relationship. We have experienced faculty members who love their jobs, and I can tell you the students that we have done a great job in going through and basically being perseverance through the COVID, and they're back to campus, and they're very, very excited. We also are very happy to be among the highest job placement rates on campus with the highest starting salaries, and because of people like yourselves, we can boast an endowment of over $32 million. We're really pushing to support the AI initiative on campus. We were fortunate enough to get 2 of the 3 AI faculty members into the Rinker School that the College of Design, Construction, and Planning were given this year, and we're really pleased with that. So thank you, Dean Anumba, for helping us get there with the AI. So the Construction Hall of Fame was started in 1980, and it is the highest honor that the Rinker School can bestow on anyone. And with no more hesitation, I'd like to ask Steve Palmer from Stiles Construction, who serves as on our advisory board and the liaison for the Hall of Fame, to come and proceed with the induction ceremony. Steve.
Thank you, Robert. Just a little bit of housekeeping. As we introduce each member, we're going to present them with a plaque that they get to take home with them. Then after I make my closing remarks, we're going to take both of our new inductees over to the wall, over there where you see the orange and blue, and we're going to take a picture of them as they unveil their plaques together. Okay? Take my glasses off so I can actually see stuff up close. As Dr. Cox stated, the Construction Hall of Fame is the highest honor the M.E. Rinker Senior School of Construction Management can bestow. Dr. Brisbane Brown established the Construction Hall of Fame many years ago, along with a process to ensure it was only the finest in both achievement and character who would be given such an honor. And I consider it a privilege to carry on that responsibility, and an honor today to introduce our most recent inductees, Jack Martin and Wayne Mccall. Today, Jack and Wayne join the ranks of a select few who are some of the best that ever graduated from the Rinker School, best that have ever taught here, best leaders who've ever advanced this great school that we love and believe to be the finest in the entire country. What makes this honor even more special is, although it's bestowed by the Rinker School, the inductees are nominated by the Hall of Fame members themselves, and it requires a unanimous vote of the selection committee that's made up of Hall of Fame members and the director of the school. So it's also an honor bestowed by their peers, and not just any peers, but by the members of the Hall of Fame themselves who've gone before them. And although they're not all still with us, the Hall of Fame includes great individuals like Herman Block, who successfully fought for the establishment of the school in the first place, Doc Rinker, for whom the school is named, Lois Johnson, who led the founding of Associated Schools of Construction, as well as the entity that became the American Council for Construction Education, Jim Pugh, a legendary developer for whom Pugh Hall is named on campus, and leaders such as David Brandon, who currently serves on the Board of Trustees, as well as Maury Hosseini, who's the chairman of the Board of Trustees. And so I consider it a privilege now to introduce to you our newest members of the Rinker Hall. Our first inductee this morning is Jack Martin. Jack Martin is a retired associate professor emeritus of the M.E. Rinker School of Construction Management and a distinguished veteran and retired colonel of the U.S. Army. After attending 1 year at the University of Florida, he attended West Point Military Academy, graduating in 1951. He subsequently received his master's degree in engineering from MIT. And upon retiring after a 24-year career in the Army, he returned to Gainesville and received his master's degree in education before becoming a professor for over 21 years in the M.E. Rinker Senior School of Construction Management. Now, Jack is highly regarded amongst his faculty peers and his students. He brought a wealth of life experiences from his prior career to the classroom and was honored for his many contributions as Teacher of the Year in 1983. His construction career in the military took him to Germany, Greenland, and also included a year in Vietnam, commanding a battalion of 77 officers and 1,400 enlisted men. He received numerous awards for his service, including the Legion of Merit, the Bronze Star Medal, the Meritorious Medal, the Air Medal, the Joint Service Commendation Medal, the Army Commendation Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, the Army of Occupation Medal for Germany, National Service Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, the Vietnam Service Medal, and campaign medals. Now, Jack's a Florida native. He has a special fondness for the University of Florida and chose to give by sharing his many career experiences through teaching and to live out his golden years in Gainesville. And Jack not only gave back to the students and courses he taught, but quietly and personally supported the school in the creation of the Soil and Concrete Laboratory, as well as student scholarships. He was also a stellar athlete and was inducted into the Greater Fort Lauderdale Sports Hall of Fame, and earlier played football for Army while he was attending West Point. So it's with great enthusiasm that we submit to you Jack Martin for induction into the University of Florida's Emmy Rinker Senior School of Construction Management's Hall of Fame.
What a smiling bunch of people out here today. I think I'm included, right? Well, it is a great day for sure. I want to say hi to all my Rinker friends, Mccall family, and my family. A few were able to come, not all, and you'll hear more about that. Anyway, the reason it's great, you have to look at it from my perspective. I've been a Gator and a Phi Delt since Dr. Tigert was president. The student body was less than 8,000 students and officially all male. It didn't convert to the co-ed until the following year, so I missed out on that. Anyway, the football season was still 9, and our record was 0-9. Terrible. And would you believe a B average made the dean's list? And the Seminole was our yearbook. The reason for that, they didn't start their football program till like 57, so it was a Seminole for many, many years. Now, most honorees rightfully mention their families first, and I'll do the same. Mine provided multiple opportunities over the years. And my journey, you might say, my life journey really began when they decided music was going to be our diversion for the three of us kids. Well, I failed miserably on a piano, so I tried the clarinet. As many of you may know, that's one of the easier ones to learn. Later on, it became the bassoon. Well, the bassoon turned out to be my ticket to a partial band scholarship to Culver Military Academy in Indiana. I didn't really enjoy the winters up there, but the sacrifice was well worth it because that background allowed me to get a partial football scholarship here at UF. Those two things together was a ticket to West Point on essentially a full scholarship. Again, think of being in the right place at the right time. We had a very good football program there, and 3 of us were invited to play in the 1950 North-South Shrine Game in Miami. And that was really a highlight for me because I'd played in the band in Orange Bowl parades and at the game, actually. So a lot of memories were tied together in that event. Again, right place, right time. I was stationed in Germany where the U.S. military swimming and diving team was being formed. And I happened to qualify in diving, and that resulted in a trip to Cairo, Egypt. While there, I took advantage of another opportunity, which was to climb to the top of the Great Pyramid. Talk about a view out over the desert and towards the town. So yes, I've been very blessed. Now I'm going to be addressing the students. I hope there are a few here because my comments relate to them. So from what I've said so far, there are 3 teaching points. No matter where you are in your journey, opportunities may also come along in different ways, at different times, and unexpected circumstances, as I just related to you. Second, your degree from UF, now that it's been elevated to number 5 nationally, will be your ticket to greater things and beyond. Just like the Hall of Fame inductees you heard mentioned earlier. They took advantage of their opportunities. And once established in your careers, one of the ways you can give back is through scholarships. UF Machen Opportunity Scholarship is one here on campus, which is very good. And one of our graduates, Letitia Burton, class of 2013, was one of the recipients. And she's been very successful in her career with Holder Construction. The next thank you goes, of course, to my dear Evelyn. She was a school teacher, so further education for our 5 boys was a given, all right? So in a sense, the boys were my motivation for going into a second career. So that's what got me thinking in that direction. Next, my job references. Lois Johnson, who you heard mentioned, had been a prior director and my next door neighbor in town. And he said, why don't you go down and talk to Dr. Brisbane Brown, who was a graduate coordinator at that time. Well, by coincidence, Briz was best man at my marriage to Evelyn in Germany over 20 years before. And last and most important was Dr. Issa, because he made the recommendation for me. So that's how we got to this point in time. Now, as a teacher, I have to have a pop quiz. So this is for anyone here who is curious and interested and has the time after we do the photo things. Let's get together right here and we can talk about that. There's one gentleman here, I believe Dave, has had that question asked of him before, so he cannot participate. Okay, the award. Was I surprised to even the idea? And the answer is yes. Why? Take a look at the wall to your right. You'll see 6 rows of plaques from prior people. I started teaching in 78. The wall started in 80, which means I've heard about 60 personal, inspirational testimonials. Now, what were their qualifications? BCN graduate, highly successful in Florida construction, participate in their industry organizations, and they participate in social organizations to make their communities better. My qualifications, none of those. However, another teaching point, as in sports and other endeavors, being a team player is very important. There are constructive things you can do outside of your regular job to make things better for your corporation or company. So in my particular case here are a few things. With all of the technical courses we have, I got an upgrade from a BA to a BS degree for the graduates. As we had become a school in 76 and we're going to change the name in 89, I thought it was appropriate that we had our own distinctive graduation tassel. So I got approval for a new tassel, burnt orange and opal. And I was privileged to give the first one to Doc Rinker at the time of the dedication. I got number 2. And it will be inherited by son Scott, who was an 84 graduate, when I'm gone. Our construction honorary is called SLX, Sigma Lambda Chi. I thought new members would not remember the leadership responsibilities they had accepted when they were initiated. So as a national director of SLX, I initiated the idea of having a wallet-sized card that includes everything in that initiation as a reminder of their responsibilities. Because we relied heavily on graduate teaching assistants, I started a formalized program of week-long training and put out a technical publication. That process and that publication influenced UF to start their own abbreviated program. Recertification inspections are required every 5 years, and it included a report. Of course, no one wants to volunteer for any extra work. However, Brisbane knew I would say yes. So I did for 2 times, and I believe got some help from some people in the audience getting those reports. As you know, job selection is critical in professional development, so I ran a new senior seminar with guest speakers. The idea was to open up their eyes to the opportunities outside of their home state or home community, which is typically what happens. If you're born in Florida, you stay in Florida. Well, this was, as I said, to open their eyes to other opportunities, including overseas. Now, I did not volunteer for Greenland, as you heard before. However, I got a little compensatory assignment a little later to Hawaii for 3 years with my family, where I took advantage of another opportunity, a childhood dream, which is to learn how to surf. Finally, I was a commencement marshal and track and field official. So I'll end with 2 anecdotes. My primary subject was Construction Techniques 3, which is a 5-credit course, if you can believe that. That included Friday field trips and trip reports. They were required because the feedback we had been getting was that that was one of the weaknesses in some of the graduates. So to clearly get the message across, I always emphasized being brief and concise. So I often added a bonus question on a final exam, which was, in 25 words or less, tell me the most important thing you learned. They would get full credit for anything under 26 words. 26 and more, they didn't get any credit, no matter how nicely they had done. So the easy and legitimate way on the exam was use the 2-word, either be brief or be concise. The one student topped me. What was his 1-word answer? What would your 1-word answer be? Think. All right. Second anecdote. As teachers, we don't really know how much is being absorbed. And my nickname, No Slack Jack, could be taken 2 ways, either good or bad. I'm not sure which. As I recall, it was Clint Eastwood who coined the phrase, make my day. Okay? The following statement was made by 83 BCN graduate Jim Mitchell. This is in a college newsletter a couple years ago. And he said, quote, Professor Jack Martin is one professor of many I found to be tough and very interested in teaching me real-world construction means and methods so that we could apply them in the field, end quote. Well, that really made my day, okay? What's happening today is making my year and teaching career. And I thank you for that. And with that, go Gators.
Thank you, Jack. Our second inductee this morning is Wayne Mccall. Now, unlike most of us, Wayne always knew what he wanted to be. When his 3rd grade teacher asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up, he says, I want to be a general contractor. And he never looked back. Now, no one in his family had ever gone to college, but he chose college because he believed that it was important for him in order to become a successful builder. He chose the best education he could find at the University of Florida in the School of Building Construction. And after graduating and several years working for others, he set out on his own, without any money, just the drive, the belief in doing things right, and with the conviction and unrelenting belief that he'd somehow figure it out. His first opportunity was for a parking garage in Jacksonville where he was ranked number 4, till after the client reviewed all the bids in detail and realized he was the only one that quoted the proper specifications. So he was awarded the job. But then, since he had no cash, he told the client he'd have to pass on the opportunity since the contract only required to pay him every 60 days, and he'd promised his subcontractors he'd pay him on the 10th of every month. The client said he wasn't at liberty to change that contract, but promised that if he signed it, he'd make certain he received payment on the 10th of every month. So they shook hands on it. A new company was born. He and the owner honored their commitments, and he never looked back. And today, Wayne's the CEO of 3 construction companies: Perry Mccall, Parrish Mccall, and Elkins Construction, all of which fall under the Mccall Company's umbrella. Perry Mccall was formed by Wayne and his father-in-law, Charles Perry, in 1989, and Wayne married Mr. Perry soon after the formation to become the sole owner. Parrish Mccall was formed out of M.M. Parrish Construction Company in 2012, and Elkins Construction LLC was formed out of the Elkins Construction Company in 2015. Today, the Mccall companies enjoy the prestige of unlimited bonding capacity, a broad range of clients and expertise, including healthcare, higher education, K through 12, housing, entertainment, and many other specialties throughout the southeastern United States. Now, Wayne's blood runs deep in his relations to the Rinker School. Before starting out, as I mentioned, he worked for Charles Perry, Construction Hall of Fame, 1983. While working for Charles Perry, he was instrumental in bringing on a fellow classmate, Breck Weingart, Construction Hall of Fame, 2008. Breck took over the reins of Charles Perry when Wayne started his own company. He acquired M.M. Parrish Construction from good friend Joel Busby, Construction Hall of Fame, 1994. He worked very closely with and became close friends with Bill Gay, the owner of W.W. Gay, Construction Hall of Fame, 1982, who had a big impact on his life, and they became close friends and business partners. He also mentioned his first ever private jet ride was Mr. Baker, Construction Hall of Fame, 1988, to see Emmitt Smith's first football game. And over the years, he's come to know Charles Denny and Maury Hosseini, Construction Hall of Fame, 1999 and 2020. And his Rinker blood run deep in his company and his family, including Michael Walsh, who's president of Parrish Mccall, who is a Rinker alumni. His younger brother, Myron, followed him to the University of Florida and is a graduate of the Rinker School, as did his sons Carson and Heath, who both graduated from the Rinker School and play a major role in the Mccall companies today. And after today, they'll have the unique distinction of having their father, Wayne Mccall, and their grandfather, Charles Perry, as members of the Rinker Construction Hall of Fame. Now, in just a small world note, he also knew and worked very closely with Abe Painter, Painter Masonry, highly respected masonry contractor here in Gainesville, who provided actually the masonry for and built the Perry Construction Yard. Also came back and taught for the classes and labs with the students on how to do masonry properly. And it just happens to be the grandfather of Renee Clayton, who works for the Rinker School and has been my right hand throughout the Hall of Fame election process every year and in putting on this event that we see today. Now, Wayne was the first in his family to graduate college, clearly not the last, with succession fully established in the next generation of family and Rinker alumni. Wayne's both a proud graduate of the Rinker School and a long-term supporter of the University of Florida. So we proudly present to you Wayne Mccall for induction into the M.E. Rinker Senior School of Construction Management's Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Steve. Really appreciate appreciate that introduction. I want to thank all the Hall of Fame members that have voted me in on this wonderful afternoon, morning, I guess. It's truly an honor that they have bestowed upon me and our company in general. What a great deal with the University of Florida making the number 5. That's truly impressive. I'm telling you, this university, the Board of Trustees, President Fox, Dr. Glover, Dr. Lane, the whole operation is absolutely top-notch. Dr. Anuma, Dr. Cox, every faculty member, every person, the whole Gator Nation is involved in this number 5 deal. So I take it as a big deal, and I appreciate all you people, as you were definitely attributed to that. You know, it's really, really neat to be inducted with you, Professor Martin. I thought that I was your first class, but actually as a year later we found out. He said no slacker. I said no nonsense. People were afraid. They paid attention when they came in there. They didn't goof off. I mean, it was much like the way I was raised, to be honest with you. So I appreciate that. Hall of Fame connections, he mentioned it, Mr. Perry. Father-in-law, partner for a couple years. Listen, he taught me how to be a contractor, period. End of story. Breck, yeah, he and I worked together. We were Mr. Perry's rookies. We had a blast. We had a real blast working together. Joel, he's a fierce competitor, true gentleman, and a good friend. Mr. Gay, let me tell you a story about Mr. Gay. One time, right after I'd moved to Jacksonville, just started in the business, Mr. Gay calls me up. He says, Wayne, come over to my office. I got a bone to pick with you. I said, yes, sir, I'll be right there. I drove over, and I sat down in his office. He said, son, I hear there's some rumors, some gossip going around town about me owning you, and it's causing me problems with these other general contractors. And I said, well, Mr. Gay, I've heard those same rumors. And he says, yeah, but somebody said you never told them, never denied it. And I said, well, no, sir, I didn't deny it. I didn't confirm it, but I didn't deny it. I said, but Mr. Gay, I've always heard you're supposed to hang around with the finest people and the best companies. And I said, I'll be honest with you, I can't think of a better partner than you because I don't have to share the profit with you. He'd roll back, laugh. He says, you ain't right, boy. Get out of here and go back to work. I miss Mr. Gay and I miss Mr. Perry. True guys. I think before I go too much further into this, I need to give you a little context, a little background. So what I'm going to say makes a little bit more sense. I'm a Christian by the grace of God. So therefore, I look at life in this world through the lens of Scripture. I have a biblical worldview, and that's going to form everything that I have to say. As I've looked back over my life, hindsight 2020, it's easy to see how God has worked all things together for my good. Romans 8:28 says it. God works all things together for good for those who love him, who are called according to his purpose. Well, it's been very easy for me to see that, and I'm going to kind of show you some of that as I go through my little talk here. Look, there's been some tough events. There always is. Life is tough. But God has always worked it out for my good. He started off raising me in a super family. Growing up, Nocatee, Florida, DeSoto County, Southwest Florida, little rural place. Parents, grandparents, all lived in the same town, a mile from each other. All went to church every Sunday and Wednesday night. We all ate together. I mean, you can't be raised in a better environment than that. I understand family. I understand the importance of it. And I think with our construction companies, you can feel that. You see the family environment that we maintain our business in. Daddy had a big influence on me. He was a manager of Eli Witt. He taught me hard work. He taught me to work smart. He taught me how to work and handle difficult customers. I was a delivery boy for him. He taught me to appreciate the people that we were working for, the customers, and always reminded me the customer's always right, period. And I have never forgot that. It's also really cool working with my brother for many years. He had a great impact on the success of the business. And like Steve said, he's also a BCN graduate. You're right. 3rd grade, teacher asked what you want to be. General contractor. I also said NFL football player. but I quickly zoned in on the general contracting part. So it's easy for me to make up my mind. I mean, I don't know why I wanted to be a contractor. No, the contractors in our family, but I did, and I never looked back. In high school, I worked at a grocery store. Learned a lot about business working there too. Made $1.65 an hour. Well, this company from Fort Lauderdale came up to Arcadia to build a house. And I said, well, shoot, I'm going to be a contractor. I need to be doing that. So I went and got a job with this fellow building a house that had a basement, of all things, in Southwest Florida. And so he says to me, he said, I'll pay you $225. I said, holy smoke, that was a pile of money. I went to work I worked so hard, man, my hands were bleeding. I mean, I thought I had to work extra hard to earn that $225. It wasn't a month into the summer that the man raised me to $425. I think he was trying to work me to death by paying me that much. But a lot of the people, in the adults working at the state hospital down the road, they didn't make that kind of money. So while I'm working, I'm up here thinking, wow, this man can pay me that much money. And then I see an airplane fly over the top, and the boss man said, hey, there goes the owner. And I said, son of a gun, if a man can pay me that much money, if he can fly in the airplane, my third grade decision was deadly accurate. I'm going to be a contractor. Anyway, next came education. Came here to the University of Florida. What a great education I received here. Many of the all the professors were really good professors. I can't say enough about the education that I received here at this university. And what's really cool is I learned the language, and my daughter-in-law did it this morning riding over here. She said something about her parents reporting a footer. It's not called a footer, it's called a footing. And there's just little things like that. You learn the language, you learn how to schedule, you learn how to read plans, you learn how to estimate, and managing, managing people you learn a little bit later, but managing, the paperwork, that is so important. And they give you a good foundation so you can go get a job and really learn on top of that. Well, it was really neat graduating. I went to Alabama, L.A., Lower Alabama. Cheap. Company hired me. I'm not kidding you. I think when I averaged it out, it was like $3 an hour with the hours that I worked. But that's okay. I had offers from these big fancy companies. I don't want to do that. I wanted to learn the business. I want to learn how to estimate. I want to learn how to manage. I want to learn how to schedule. I want to put what I'd been taught in school into action. And probably the more driving force is I didn't want a big paying job. I wanted a cheap job. I wanted to work so cheap that they couldn't afford to fire me. And that I accomplished that real good. A couple of years there, come back here to Gainesville and went to work for Mr. Perry. I am a slow learner. I never asked a man what he was going to pay me. Didn't matter. I wanted to come to Gainesville and I wanted to go to work for him. Sure enough, I get my first paycheck, open up the envelope. I didn't worry about getting fired from him either. He didn't pay me nothing. I got to tell you, I have estimated and project managed, scheduled more projects on this campus through the 80s than any other single person by a long shot. Probably did 80% of all the jobs on campus, and I could just ride you around and show you all over. Dr. Martin, I know this has to be a soils teacher's great campus. This is the sorriest soil in the whole state of Florida right here that we're sitting on. My first project, my very first project. So here I am learning book stuff, how to be a contractor. I learned real life stuff working for a contractor on this campus. And then my first job is for UF Health. It was University Hospital back then in Jacksonville, but now it's UF Health. And so the university has played a great impact on me through the whole process. Mr. Perry, he never ever gave me a penny. Matter of fact, the apartment complex that he owned that I rented, I paid full price on his apartment. Whenever he bought me out, he charged me interest like 3 or 4% more than the bank. Man knew how to make money. Anyway, but he did do one great thing for me. He gave me my wife, Colleen, his middle daughter. I won't tell you that story, but she'd get mad with me. And anyway, I was basically a slave laborer. When I went to work for him after I married her, I remained indentured servant, that's for sure. Colleen and I have two of the finest boys that I've ever known in my life, Heath and Carson. She raised them, so no wonder they're fine young men. I got the two best daughter-in-laws in the world, Alex and Maddie, and look at Berkeley and Ellis and Grant, and I don't see Cameron. I said, yeah, there's Cameron right there. The greatest little grandchildren that ever been born in the entire world. I'm proud of them. So, when I went to work for Mr. Perry, I told him, look, I want to be a general contractor. And so 8 years after I'd worked for him, I circled the calendar, like it was December, January. I circled it in October. I said, I got to get somebody in here. I got to train them, because it was basically just me and him, and then Breck had come along a couple of years before that. I said, we need to get somebody to take my place, because I'm leaving in October. So anyway, it worked out, and you heard the story about the hospital and all that. And whenever we started that job, ended up being 3 projects. Those 3 projects ended up being around, I don't know, $25 million worth of work that I had, parking garage, tunnel, surgery building, the learning resource center, all of it on this one city block. And I was the bookkeeper. I did all the accounts payable. I did the payroll. I did the accounts receivable. I did the estimating. I did the scheduling. I did the project management. I did everything as by myself. And what is that in today's dollars? $75, $100 million? These construction managers wouldn't have a clue how to pull something like that off in today's world. But I got to tell you, that was really, really inspirational for me to be able to pay attention and hire the best personnel possible. And that's what's happened. God has provided me with the greatest employees in this entire business. I am confident of that 100%. And I want to make it clear that, okay, it might be my name on the plaque, but let me assure you, it's our employees within the 3 companies. Those are the ones that are receiving this award. I'm just the figurehead representing those people, and I mean that sincerely. We have some unbelievable people. In my 32 years of being in business, soon to be 33, I've never been in a lawsuit with an owner, sub, architect. I contribute that to paying our bills timely, paying them on the 10th. You got to keep the money flowing on construction projects. If you don't, you won't finish early, you'll have problems, you won't have repeat customers, you'll get in lawsuits, all kind of foolish stuff that's not necessary. I really learned when I was working for Mr. Perry a whole lot about business and what making a fair profit really meant. And it wasn't anything to do with construction. Mr. Perry had a couple hundred acres up there near Alachua, and he needed to keep his ag exemption intact. And me being from Arcadia or Nocatee, DeSoto County, big farming rural area, grew watermelons, and all the people I thought were cool were watermelon growers. I said, well, shoot, I'll grow watermelons. And so I did. I grew 55 acres of watermelons. Man, I had the best crop in all of North Florida. I irrigated, nobody else did. The price was the highest it's ever been. Man comes in, says, I'll give you $100,000 for your field. I was making $18,000 a year, saving every penny I had. That's still a lot of money, but it was a mega lot of money back then. And I went out and measured an acre. I counted all the watermelons, weighed a couple of them, multiplied it out what was going on. I said, there's $250,000 worth of watermelons out here. I'm not about to give my field away. I thought the man was trying to steal it. But guess what? It started raining, and it didn't stop raining for the next 2 months. I barely broke even. The moral of the story and the way I conduct business, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. I'll take a profit, turn the money, and go to the next job any day of the week. Now, let me tell you something. It's been really fun and really exciting the last couple of years. What an amazing privilege working with Heath and Carson. These boys are rock stars. They're the future of the business. Actually, they own Parrish, Mccall, and Elkins, and those companies are running smooth as silk. They're doing a great job. Mr. Perry would be so impressed and so proud of you guys. I'm quite sure they're going to outperform us. No doubt in my mind, and I hope so. You know, what we do for a living is not brain surgery, folks. It's really not. It's hard work. It's a lot of risk at times. But you have seen, I hope, you know, how God has worked all things together for my good in just a short glimpses here. I've showed you just a minor glimpse of that, but I got to tell you, about the time I left Gainesville for Jacksonville to go in business, the greatest good that God ever did for Wayne Mccall, what the greatest good that he worked out for me, and I finally came to understand it and rely on the greatest person and the greatest event in all of history. That being when God himself came to earth, lived a perfect life as the God-man, Jesus Christ. I trust in him alone to be my substitute. And I'm telling you right now, he has accredited all his righteousness to my account. The righteousness that I failed at, miserably failed at. And you know what else? He's also become, he who knew no sin has become my sin on the cross, where he exhausted all of God's wrath. Every bit of it for my sin debt. He's paid it in full. He died, he was buried, he rose again, and right now he has made peace between me and God, and he is at the right hand of the Father, and he has prepared a mansion for me someday soon that no owner could ever afford, no architect could ever conceive or design, and no contractor could ever build it because of its complicated nature. And that's the gospel truth. And because of my worldview, my biblical worldview, then I want to give God all the praise, the honor, and the glory. And I want to thank God for using the Hall of Fame Board of Members to accomplish his purpose and allowing me, our employees, to be honored here in the Hall of Fame. And with that, I sure do appreciate it, y'all. You've been a great audience. Thank you very much. Go Gators, and I sure would like for them to beat Alabama like they did when Mr. Baker took us and Emmett did his deal. So y'all have a good evening.
Thank you, Wayne. As soon as I'm done with my closing remarks, I would like for Wayne and Jack to accompany me over to the wall over there, and then just a minute. So I'm going to do my closing remarks first, and then we're going to go. But I do want to thank everybody for coming today to support our inductees and our school, including everybody out there online. For those of you who may not know, we've been taping this and running it live. You know, I've learned you never truly know the pay-it-forward impact of your consequential impact of your actions. I know that I'm personally the beneficiary of pay-it-forward actions of several of the Hall of Fame members, including Lois Johnson, Herman Block, Briz Brown, just to name a few. And I'm sure that the life's work of our new Hall of Fame members will also pay it forward to a truly immeasurable degree. So on behalf of those future students and all those who will benefit from what those students will learn, thank you, Jack and Wayne. I've been affiliated with this school since 1974, from when Lois Johnson, Hall of Fame 1985, convinced me to come here as a student. And I firmly believe that today we're in the best position we've ever been as a university, top 5 ranking in the country for public universities, and as a college, and as a school. And I firmly believe that with the leadership of Dean Anumba and Dr. Robert Cox, support of our Hall of Fame legacy members who've come before, the support of the great leaders we've inducted here today, that the Rinker School is blessed with an extremely bright future. So stay safe, stay strong, and go Gators. Okay? More round of applause, guys.